but not too many people actually have been talking about bitter kola or orogbo. Well, I may not blame them. Maybe it's because they don't really have an understanding of what it can do to the people to prevent, this type of a disease. We have worked extensively on bitter kola or orogbo for over 25 years. And we can say, authoritatively that we know so many things that orogbo or bitter kola, can do. As we know, traditionally, our, fathers, they've been eating this since antiquity. And in a traditional medicine, it plays an important role in the management of a cough. And as I said earlier on, cough is one of the symptoms of, COVID-19. And why it's able to actually have a strong effect against cough is on account of its very, very strong antibacterial properties. Antibacterial properties. So you have orogbo or bitter kola has a very strong antibacterial property and is able to actually manage, cold, catarrh, and the cough. In actual fact, studies have shown that the influenza virus that more or less we call a flu, you have been able to actually demonstrate that through a series of studies that the orogbo or bitter kola can effectively manage flu. When you come down with a cold or whatever and you take it, you find out that you are relieved. But you see, you don't even need to wait until you come down with it, and that is actually the message today. It's a prevention. Prevention is better than cure, and there is something in science we call a chemo prevention. When you practice a chemo prevention, you will not actually come down with the actual disease. It's a lifestyle. You develop an immunity. Yeah, in a way. Somehow, one way or the other, your system, gets, used to it. So when the disease, wants to attack you, you have something to fight it back. So I will really encourage, that people, have a moderate intake of, bitter kola. I'm happy. You said moderate. Yes. Before they begin to eat it like they're eating sweet. I will say that moderation is in very everything key. Because here in this today, I cannot talk, about, the pros and the cons. Of course, we are not prescribing here. Of orogbo, or bitter kola. But at this particular time, it's very, very handy. And is there in the market. People can take. I would recommend that people take about 1 to 2 or 3 sips, of bitter kola, per day. Then you discover that you are going to be very, very, very active and very, very strong. It also boosts the immunity, of individual, and it also has an anti-inflammatory property. It also has a strong antioxidant properties, and with these properties, somebody is going to be effectively protected and guarded against the disease called COVID-19. So I strongly recommend that. Number one. Number two. Number two, I would say that somebody should have this supplement or this trace element to the diet or what we take now, and that is called zinc. Zinc is a trace element, is a micronutrient, and is very, very useful to the body. It's something that must be taken in a minute amount. That disappeared from most chemists now. Yes, because Dr. Yewale was here the day before yesterday. He did recommend taking olu and cashew as other sources for for zinc. I'm still going to talk about that. You see, but the zinc is over the counter stuff which you can actually take. It's not a drug, as it were. About 40 to 50 milligram of zinc is very, very effective for an individual on a daily basis. The reason is because zinc it boosts the immunity. And not only that, studies have shown that the zinc also has the capability of inhibiting viral replication. That is to say, if the virus enters the system and zinc is there at the same time, it slows down the rate at which the the virus is going to be replicated. And if it slows that, then such a person, can also buy time to actually raise immunity to against
destroy and fight
and
the disease.
You can actually be okay. That is why zinc is okay. You find out that in many climes they also administer hydroxychloroquine, with the zinc. I'm not prescribing that somebody should take hydroxychloroquine.
Like President Trump,
somebody if promoting. You go to the hospital and isolation center. If the doctors want to prescribe hydroxychloroquine, for you, that is a fine. But the studies have shown that hydroxychloroquine is like a transporter or a ionophore. It more or less facilitates the entry of a zinc into the system. And that is actually the reason why they combine both. So when they combine hydroxychloroquine and zinc, all right, hydroxychloroquine enables or transports a zinc and makes it to enter the system and makes it more bioavailable to actually boost the immunity and to inhibit, viral replication.
Even though it's been said it has its own, other, dangerous
yes, it may have that, but it has a lot of it because
has been recorded.
Hydroxychloroquine, all right, it has an anti-inflammatory property, and also it's also being repurposed, for arthritic, patients. It has that. But I just need to say that. But apart from even taking hydroxychloroquine, that is something that many people don't know that we take normally that can actually serve the purpose of hydroxychloroquine that is actually non-toxic, and that is onions. The onions that we take contain a lot of flavonoids, and one of such flavonoids is called a quercetin. Quercetin is a free radical scavenger. Quercetin is an antioxidant. Quercetin also is like an ionophore or transporter. So when quercetin is present with a zinc, quercetin facilitates the entry of a zinc into the system. And the onions is something you take.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So take rather than taking
taking
hydroxychloroquine. If you take if you take onions alongside with Exone, it enables a zinc to actually perform its function in the system. So it is important that I mentioned that. Then the next thing I also want to talk about is that there are so many food substances that actually contain a zinc. All right, and one is ginger. You do analysis of the components of a ginger. There are a lot of minerals there, and zinc, all right, is one of the components or one of the things you find in a ginger. So if you take a ginger, apart from the function that a ginger does, you are also benefiting from the presence of zinc that is there. So people should actually take note of that. Ginger is very, very important. Ginger is an ancient, stuff that people have been taking for several years. And it's also very, very important and well researched, and a lot of studies have been conducted on ginger, and ranging from isolation and characterization of so many compounds, from ginger. You discover that when you take a ginger, it's a little bit spicy, and it can actually burn the mouth or whatever. The reason is because of the active components they are called the gingerols. The gingerols, the sugarols, and the paradols. These are the active ingredients in a ginger. But the most potent or the most active ingredient of a ginger that is actually responsible for what you call the pharmacological properties is because it's a compound called a 6-gingerol. We have studied a 6-gingerol in my laboratory, and other people have also done that, for several years. It has a very strong anti-inflammatory property. As I said before, in a COVID-19, inflammation is a very, very, very strong pathway by which a COVID-19, destroy, people. So when you have anti-inflammatory agents, the inflammation is attenuated, the inflammation is reduced and abated, and at the end of the day, it disappears. Because unresolved inflammation that the disease cause is what actually makes people, to actually, go down, and they may die. So ginger has a very strong anti-inflammatory property and has been shown to be relevant.
Ginger
Ginger. At what? Atale funfun. Atale funfun, you know, is there, you know, in the market, and people just need to remove the skin. All right, you can slice it and you can grate it, and you can take it in form of a tea. You can add the hot water to it and you take it, you get the benefit. You can use it, people use it, you know, as a spice to cook a meat, you know, and stuff like that. Some other also take it in form of a powder. But I will recommend, for you to really benefit from the medicinal property of a ginger, it is important that you take it fresh as against the powdered one. Because when you take it fresh, you have those active ingredients that I made mention. They will be intact and they will be available, you know, for, you know, your system.
What is next, sir?
Then the next one that I want to talk, which was important, is a garlic. All right, a garlic. People don't like to take it because of its smell.
The smell.
But it is very, very important. It's very, very important and germane at this time. When you take garlic, you also find out that you know, it begins to smell. The reason is because of the compound, the sulfur containing compounds there, and certain things that are taking place. What is actually there that makes it to actually be potent is what is called allicin. And when the allicin is a form, you know, from as a result of a certain reactions, then an individual can actually benefit, you know, from a ginger.
Killing benefit.
Garlic also is important. It has antibacterial properties, and garlic also has a strong anti-inflammatory properties, and can also help in the management of a viral infection. And garlic is also a blood thinner. Because one of the things that happens during COVID-19 is that you have a blood clots. So when you have a blood clots and all those things happen to people, apart from pneumonia and some other things, you know, somebody can throw emboli.
Yes.
And when that
embolism.
Embolism. And when that takes place, the person can die. But when you take something that taints the blood, like an anticoagulant, then you find that is very, very relevant. And that is one of the things that garlic does in the system. So it is important, you know, that you know, people take note of that, why it is relevant, you know, in a COVID-19 that we're talking about as a blood thinner. So when you have a garlic as a blood thinner in your system, in your recipe, and you have a ginger, an anti-inflammatory agent in your system, and a zinc, one way or the other, you are good to go. All right, you will be, you know, soundly protected, you know, from this
you promised 7. How many Chiquito, how many do we have?
5.
5.
Yeah. The other thing that I will also want to talk about is I've talked about the Garcinia cola. It's a vitamin C. Vitamin C is very, very important. In fact, some people have referred to vitamin C as a antiviral vitamin. All right, in our study we call it a water, you know, soluble vitamin, because when you take it, it's soluble and it dissolves in your mouth, and you can add the water. That's why they call it water soluble vitamin. But apart from that, it is very, very important in the management of a cold and the symptoms of a COVID-19. So that is why you see him as part of what they give them in isolation center. Vitamin C, about 1,000 milligram of a vitamin C 1 to 2 times, you know, per day. They give those patients, you know, every day, and that heals. All right, that they are, you know, are healing. It boosts immune system, and very, 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 very important, you know, in the management, you know, of a flu. You see, you can take it in form of a tablet, the white one, and if you can also take what they call the lipospheric vitamin C or liposomal vitamin C, that is a stronger, because a liposomal or lipospheric
is it like this CAC 1000?
Yeah, something like that. It enables a vitamin C to be more available and you know, deployed, you know, to actually do and perform its function in the system. Okay, but apart from taking it as in form of a tablet, you can also take it all right, in form of the fruits and the citruses that are available to us at this time.
Lemon,
that is there. Lemon, lime. What's it called? Tangerines. And these common citruses, oranges that are at the disposal.
They are very rich in vitamin C.
Very, very rich in vitamin C. So, in addition to that, people are encouraged, to invest a lot, in that and take at this particular time. It's going to really, really help. The other thing, apart from vitamin C, which I've said, that is also very, very important that people don't know, which they can take. Herbalists and medicinal people they use, but people who also know some of the functions, they also, can take it. And it's in form of seeds. And that is what is called atari. That is alligator pepper. Alligator pepper, is called Aframomum. Aframomum melegueta, that is the botanical name. And alligator pepper in English and atari in Yoruba. This is very, very, very important in management of a viral infection. Very, very important in its management. Yes, a little bit. About 3 or 4 of the seeds can be thrown to man and chew it. When you chew it, you find that it's really, really spicy and can actually burn your throat and that kind of in a little way, and you can then swallow. All right. When you do that, you are benefiting from the strong antibacterial property of atari. Antibacterial was anti-inflammatory, property of alligator pepper, and it also contains some of those compounds that are present in ginger, because they belong more or less to the same family. The same family they belong to is called Zingiberaceae. They belong to that same family. So when you take that, okay, one way or the other, you get the benefit. That is that. The other one that I also want to talk about,
I think I saw turmeric in
this turmeric. That is the mention. That is called turmeric. Turmeric is a very, very important. It's more or less similar, to ginger. Turmeric has been used for several years as a very, very strong anti-inflammatory agent, on account of the active compound or principle that is there, that is referred to as a curcumin. Curcumin, all right, is what is responsible for the pharmacological properties of a turmeric. So either you take a curcumin as a supplement, or you take
turmeric, sir.
Turmeric
atale pupa.
That is that is a turmeric. It's also there in the market. People take.
Somebody is asking, taking a role lemongrass tea.
Yes,
in the treatment of.
I will answer that.
Because I'm looking at the time, so that's
yes, that's fine. Lemongrass is also very important. People burn lemongrass because it's used more or less to treat malaria, and one of the symptoms of COVID-19 is a fever. So when people take a lemongrass, then one way or the other, it has what is called antipyretic properties. And it reduces, the pain and the feverish condition. That is one of the things that does. So I've mentioned, atari and alligator
turmeric.
Then turmeric. I've mentioned, that the other thing finally I will also mention that is very, very important is a bitter leaf. Some of these things, bitter leaf and bitter cola, that I've also mentioned, they are very, very bitter, and people don't like, to take that. But there's this term of rule that anything that is bitter that you take is likely going to do you good. And on the contrary,
anything that is sweet
that you take, exercise a caution about it. Several studies sugar is very good, but several studies have shown that the sugar may cause a lot of damage.
Somebody is asking, do we eat onion raw or do we cook it?
You can eat it raw. You can eat it raw, and you can also cook it. Yes, you can eat it, and you can cut it. You can cut it into slices and put it in your serving together with a white rice. In the evening, I do it that way, and you get this benefits.
Can an ulcer patient take atari?
Well, that is where the caution lie, because of its peppery thing. You need to know if somebody is like an ulcer patient, it may not be good to take it on empty stomach. but it can be taken after food.
Maybe you don't know that the guest that we have in this house this morning is the brain box when it comes to the food your state government is asking you to eat this COVID-19 season. Governor Seyi Makinde, some couple of days ago, roll out your state food advisory that citizens here should embrace during this COVID season. Those items from your state government, from Governor Seyi Makinde, were actually certified by our guest this morning, Professor Olatunde Farumbi, who incidentally is also the head of department. He's a professor of biochemistry, University of Ibadan. What a morning. Having said all this, it is also important that we still have good food to back them up. So people don't wake up every day, just throw atari into the mouth, eat onion. Because we have to compliment them by eating good food.
Yeah, what I would like, eat a balanced diet.
So atari onion lọ́sàn, tumeric lálẹ́, I'm fine.
These are things you actually take after food. Or they call as a refreshing pastime. Refreshing pastime. Now it's not food. You must take a solid food. You must have a correct intake of fat, correct intake of vitamins, of proteins, and a carbohydrate, balanced diet at this particular point in time. It's very, very important. Then you then take all this in addition, to some of the things that we are talking about. So I am very confident that you have a zinc, all right? You have a citrus fruit, you have a bitter cola, and you have a ginger and a garlic.
Two quick ones. Fortune Praise is saying, what is the Yoruba name for lemon? And is there any role that cucumber can play in this?
Well, cucumber may not really have a direct something when it comes to this, but it also serves, some, medicinal, purposes which we cannot.
Yoruba name for lemon. Yoruba name for melon. Osanwewe. Wow, what a money. A lot of kudos to you, Prof, this morning online. I think